Hello again, welcome back to Football Spy Online. We've got something for everyone today. Good news for Chelsea fans, bad news for Hull fans, a bit of deja vu for Spurs fans indeed, more of the same for Arsenal fans, and a possible surprise for Manchester United fans. But we start with Aston Villa. And with Spurs shocking at the back yesterday, they were beaten 2-0 by Celtic. The need for reinforcements is key, but Harry Redknapp says he won't be going in for Portsmouth, Sylvan Distin. Aston Villa will, though. The Express say that Martin O'Neill wants him on board by the end of the week so that he can fly out to join the Villa squad on their pre-season tour of Spain. Pompey know that Liverpool like Distin too. They're holding out for £4 million. They actually want him to sign a new deal as he's got just 1 year left on his contract. But it looks as though Distin's going to be the next big name out of Fratton Park after Peter Crouch. Now, I normally save the messages for a bit later on Spy, but I want to read this one from Gary Spurs, who's devastated that Crouch is on his way back to White Hart Lane. He says here, "Hi Darren, here's my question. Why is Harry such an idiot? I mean, Crouch, he's useless. He's no better. Is he better than Defoe, Keane, Bent and Pav? No way. I think this is a big waste of money and a signing that was not needed. Harry's emotional attachment to players is pretty much evident for all to see. Words cannot express how angry I am at this transfer. It's a joke. It's the worst transfer I've witnessed as a Spurs supporter." Strong words, but I was at the Wembley Cup yesterday where we had it confirmed that Crouch's deal should be completed by the time you see this video. To be fair to Crouch, his goals record speaks for itself. He might not be the easiest player on the eye, but he's played Champions League and international football, so he must be doing something right. Now, by now, you'll know that John Terry's agreed to stay at Chelsea. There's no point me leading the show with a story because all of you know about it anyway. But the big question now is who Manchester City will target next to play at the centre of their defence. The Mail think it's going to be Arsenal's Kolo Touré. Now, to be fair, all the papers think the same. Kolo Touré is 28, so he's around about the right age for the City project. But for me, it's not. Just seems as though he's not quite the player he was. If he was, then I don't think Arsenal would let him go. Rafa Benitez doesn't want Xabi Alonso to go to Real Madrid, but I think that deal will happen any day now. The Star say that thousands of fans in the Far East begged him not to leave for Spain during Liverpool's 5-0 pre-season win over Singapore yesterday. But as nice as that might be, I can still see him going to Spain by the end of the window. Some more of your messages, and Sonny Thomas Rowe wants an update on players Arsenal are looking at. I'm going to answer that one by answering this one from The Tack. He wants details on Ever Banega, a player I mentioned as a possible defensive midfielder for Arsenal last week. Well, he's 21, he's from Argentina, who currently plays for Valencia. Signed a 5-year deal with them in January last year. He played alongside future Atletico Madrid teammate Sergio Aguero in the Under-20 World Cup in Canada 2 years ago. He's a very good player at Valencia, are struggling financially, so maybe it could be worth Arsene Wenger having a look. Absolute Divine's also an Arsenal fan. He says, "I've been going for 18 years. I'm thoroughly disappointed with how we've gone from looking like fighters that could contend on all platforms to a struggling team that only just about makes it in the top 4 bracket." Well, although that might be true, I think that might change this summer. I'm actually tipping Arsenal to win the Premier League title this time round. I think they need 1 or 2 good signings, but I think this could be their year. The Matt Dog is a Man United fan. He says, "I don't understand where all these United fans are saying that we should swap Berbatov for someone else. If anyone's watched the pre-season so far, he's looking incredible, and I think this season could be huge for him." I agree. I think he's needed last season kind of to bed in, and this year we could see a more productive Berbatov. Also, lots of you agreeing with Nick from St Kitts that you'd like to see more 10-minute shows or 8-minute shows rather than the 4-minute ones. And just as many of you are agreeing with me that swapping Eto'o plus 40 mil plus Heleb for Ibrahimovic is absolute madness. And just before we get back to the papers, one more. Lombardi started early with his predictions for the new season. He thinks Crouch will stay at Pompey, so he's already wrong there. But he thinks Bent will leave Spurs, not rocket science exactly. And also he thinks Owen will win the Premier League's Golden Boot. He thinks Arsenal will win the Carling Cup, Chelsea to win the FA Cup, Man U to win the Premier League, and Real Madrid to win the Champions League. I think he's wrong there. I think Inter Milan will win the Champions League. Anyway, give us your thoughts. Do you agree with Lombardi, or is he talking, to use one of his own words, rubbish? Anyway, to Phil Brown, Well, he's got his megaphone out again. After missing out on Michael Owen, Marc-Antoine Fortuné and Fraser Campbell, along with Bobby Zamora, as this story shows you here, he now wants Portsmouth's Benjani. To be fair, Benjani would be a good buy. He's not going to play at City, so he's looking at either going back to Pompey or staying in the north. Now just do the deal, Phil, and stop telling us about it. Middlesbrough have got the right idea. They've accepted an offer for Fat Mido from an unnamed club. They won't say who the club is. They just want to do the deal and get rid. And with Bordeaux striker Marouane Chamakh on his way to Sunderland, Bordeaux want the Fulham striker Diamansi Camara, who actually looked quite tasty when he came back from injury last year. And just on the striker situation, Carlos Vela at Arsenal, he hit one, set up two as Mexico beat USA 5-0 in the CONCACAF the other night. Just on that game, Severin Travis is saying here that he can't understand why the Spurs midfielder Giovanni Dos Santos can't get into the side when he was brilliant against the USA. I think Harry Redknapp sees him as being a bit too lightweight for the Premier League at the moment. Before we move on, take a look at this. It's our You the Manager fantasy football competition and it's back. There's a cash pot of £150,000, so make sure you enter. Now, when I did Shame the Player the other day, so many of you nominated David Beckham that I've decided to read out some of your messages. You may have seen on mirror.co.uk that he's had another confrontation, this time during LA Galaxy's game against the Kansas City Wizards on Saturday. Lots of you are playing into his hands by agreeing that he should go back to the Premier League from the MLS. But I'm going to read your messages anyway. Joel Oberstone says, I can't stand it anymore. Enough with this glorification of David Beckham. He can't dribble, he can't make runs, he can't score, tackle or defend. Yet this handsome, blonde-haired, blue-eyed, tattooed Giorgio Armani pretty boy is marketed by a team of advisors and the public buys it. In November, he'll be gone. What do you expect? He's done his time in the MLS. He's got places to go and people to meet. Multipolar agrees. He says, who doesn't David Beckham make eyes at? Bad Half says, fans can't just boo Becks out of time because he wants to try something new. The MLS season ends in November, so let him go and enjoy real football and then bring him back. If he goes, the MLS may go bust soon after. I'm sure lots of people out there won't agree with that. The competition for the Frank Ribery's goes on. We've got lots of your guesses still coming in. Here's a few of them. Let's have a look. Yannick Diouf thinks he'll go for £54 million. Old Root thinks he'll go for 42. Joe Somerville thinks he'll go for £56 million. Let us know what you think. We want to know how much you think Frank Ribery will move clubs this summer for. We think Chelsea are going to buy him. 3 more stories for you, and in the Mirror, Leeds want a staggering £8 million from Spurs for the teenage sensation Fabian Delph. Delph would be crazy if he goes to White Hart Lane. He's got to remember the likes of Gareth Bale, Wayne Routledge, Simon Davis, Matthew Etherington, Julian Gray, Chris Gunther, and even Dos Santos, as young players have gone to Spurs and just lost their way. Spurs need players for now, not the future, and young players need to play. Blackburn boss Sam Allardyce wants the Zenit St. Petersburg striker Pavel Pogrebnyak as a replacement for Roque Santa Cruz. But Zenit want £9 million and Pogrebnyak thinks he's worthy of a much bigger club. And this is interesting in the Mail. They say that Man United might be prepared to nip in and steal potential Liverpool target David Villa from Valencia. Lots of reports in Spain saying that United could make a bid as early as this week. Watch your space. Now, more Spy for you tomorrow. I'll be in the chair, not Dan. I won't be skiving. I'll be back here. Hope you're with me for some more Football Spy.